Taylor Swift sat curled up on the oversized couch in her Kansas City living room, tears streaming down her face as she clutched her phone. The quiet evening was shattered when Travis Kelce walked in from his workout and saw her like this, broken in a way he had never witnessed before. When he asked what was wrong, Taylor handed him the phone as though it were evidence of a betrayal too painful to put into words. On the screen was a news article carrying a headline that froze Travis in place. Blake Lively's silence on Taylor Swift's engagement confirms friendship is over. Taylor whispered in disbelief that Blake hadn't even sent her a single message. Not a congratulations, not a word of comfort, nothing at all. In that moment, Travis wrapped his arms around her as she finally let herself break down completely. And he realized this was about more than a headline. It was about the collapse of one of Taylor's most important friendships. The unraveling of Taylor and Blake's friendship hadn't started with the headline. It had begun months earlier. Back in December 2024, Blake Lively filed a lawsuit against director Justin Baldoni, and Taylor, always a loyal friend, had been quick to offer encouragement. She texted Blake often, called her daily, and even offered to make a public statement of support. But things took a darker turn when Justin Baldoni's legal team subpoenaed Taylor, demanding her private text messages and conversations. Taylor explained to Travis that she had immediately called Blake to ask if she knew this would happen. Blake's response stunned her. She said it was necessary. To Taylor, that answer felt like her privacy and peace were being treated as expendable, as if her only role was to serve Blake's legal battle. Despite feeling uncomfortable, Taylor was still willing to stand by her friend. Until Gigi Hadid called with devastating news, Blake had been talking behind Taylor's back, claiming that Taylor owed her loyalty because Blake had supported her relationship with Travis. The more Taylor uncovered, the more she felt used. Blake had apparently told her legal team that Taylor would do anything to support her, counting on her as a perfect witness without ever asking if she was okay with it. For someone who had built her career and identity around loyalty, through her famous squad, friendship bracelets at concerts, and unwavering devotion to those close to her, this revelation was crushing. What she thought was a decade-long bond began to feel like a calculated alliance. As Taylor continued pouring her heart out to Travis, she confessed that Blake's actions made her question everything about their friendship. She recalled moments when she had been there for Blake over and over again, becoming godmother to her children, weaving their names into her songs, standing by her through difficult seasons. Yet when Taylor finally needed space and begged not to be dragged into the lawsuit, Blake didn't respect that boundary. Instead, Blake reportedly told mutual friends that Taylor was abandoning her, choosing Travis over her, and that ever since Taylor's relationship with him had grown serious, she had become less loyal. The betrayal stung deeply. Taylor whispered that she felt their entire friendship had been transactional, as though she were simply another piece of insurance Blake could use when convenient. When the subpoena was eventually dropped, Blake never reached out. No call, no apology. And when Taylor got engaged, there was still nothing. No congratulations, no acknowledgement, just silence. Exhausted and defeated, Taylor asked aloud if she had done something wrong. Should she have testified? Was that what true friendship required? To sacrifice her own well-being for someone else's needs? In that moment of raw vulnerability, Travis took her hands, looked her directly in the eyes, and told her something that changed everything. Real friendship never requires you to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Taylor sat quietly, absorbing Travis's words. For the first time in days, she felt a glimmer of relief. He reminded her that setting boundaries wasn't betrayal, it was self-preservation. He pointed out that Blake cutting her off over something as joyful as her engagement revealed the truth about the friendship. Real friends didn't require constant sacrifice. They celebrated your happiness even when life was messy. Travis gently reminded her of the people who had shown up, Gigi warning her honestly, Ashley arriving with ice cream, friends who never asked her to give up her peace of mind. Those were the people who truly mattered. Just as Taylor began to breathe easier, her phone buzzed. It was a text from Ryan Reynolds. Her hands shook as she read it out loud. Ryan apologized for not realizing how bad things had become between her and Blake and congratulated her on the engagement. Taylor admitted to Travis that she didn't know how to feel. Part of her was angry, part of her remembered Ryan's kindness, and part of her realized he might be in an impossible position between his wife and his friend. Travis listened carefully and told her something that gave her clarity. Ryan and Blake were not the same person. It was possible to be hurt by Blake without blaming Ryan, and it sounded like Ryan was trying to do the right thing. For Taylor, that small moment of compassion opened the door to a healthier way forward. She decided she would respond, thank him for the message, and make clear that while she appreciated his kindness, her relationship with Blake was not in a good place. Travis smiled, proud of her honesty and balance. Over the next hour, Taylor and Travis sat together, talking through the storm of emotions, betrayal, grief, anger, and confusion. Travis never once made her feel dramatic or unreasonable. Instead, he validated her feelings while gently steering her away from self-blame. At one point, he shared a lesson from his years of playing football. You can give everything to a team, your time, your energy, even your body, and still sometimes get cut, traded, or injured. It doesn't always happen because you weren't good enough. Sometimes it's simply because the other side wasn't capable of giving back what you deserved. Friendship works the same way, Travis explained. You can be the best friend in the world and people can still let you down, not because you failed, but because they weren't able to be the kind of friend you needed. His words settled into Taylor's heart like truth she had needed to hear for a long time. She rested her head on his shoulder and whispered that she was grateful to have him. Travis kissed the top of her head, reminding her that she was stuck with him now, engaged and everything. For the first time that night, Taylor laughed. A real laugh, though tinged with sadness. She admitted she couldn't believe Blake hadn't even acknowledged their engagement. Travis simply replied, "Her loss. She's missing out on celebrating what's going to be the best wedding of the decade." Those words lit up a genuine smile on Taylor's face. For the first time in weeks, she felt the weight start to lift, realizing that while she had lost one friend, she still had love, loyalty, and joy surrounding her. A few days later, Taylor's sense of fragile peace was tested again. Gigi Hadid called her and asked to meet for coffee in New York. Sitting at their favorite spot, Gigi gently revealed that Blake had reached out to her, asking Gigi to convince Taylor to talk. Taylor was baffled. She hadn't received any messages from Blake since before her engagement. But Gigi, with a somber expression, pulled out her phone and showed Taylor the truth. Blake had sent several messages, but they weren't apologies or attempts to heal. Instead, they were defensive, self-justifying explanations about how Taylor had supposedly overreacted to the subpoena situation, and how unfair it was that Taylor was giving her the silent treatment. Taylor's chest tightened as she read the words. These weren't the messages of someone who understood the hurt she had caused. They were the words of someone incapable of seeing the situation from any perspective but her own. Gigi looked Taylor in the eye and said softly, "She doesn't think she did anything wrong. I don't think she's capable of seeing it the way you do." In that moment, something inside Taylor shifted. Travis had been right all along. This wasn't about her being a bad friend or not giving enough. It was about Blake not being able to provide the kind of friendship Taylor both needed and deserved. The clarity was painful but freeing. Taylor thanked Gigi not just for showing her the messages but for being honest every step of the way. "That's what friends do," Gigi replied. "Real friends tell you the truth, even when it's hard." That same evening, after sharing Gigi's revelation with Travis, Taylor did something that surprised even herself. She sat down at the piano in their home studio and began to write. But instead of pouring her anger into the lyrics, she let the sadness and honesty guide her. The song wasn't about revenge, and it wasn't meant to hurt Blake. It was about the grief of outgrowing a friendship you once thought would last forever, about realizing that not everyone who walks with you for years is meant to stay for a lifetime. When she finished playing it for Travis, there was a long silence. He finally whispered that it was beautiful, heartbreaking, and true. He asked if she planned to put it on her album. Taylor paused, thinking carefully. Maybe she would, but not as a weapon. Not to call Blake out, but simply because the story was real, and she believed others would relate to the painful, bittersweet experience of letting go of someone you loved, but who could no longer walk the journey with you. Travis smiled, telling her he was sure that many people had gone through the same thing, and her honesty would resonate with them. For Taylor, that realization was healing. She wasn't alone in her experience. Her song became a way to turn pain into art, and art into connection. In the days that followed, Taylor carried Travis's words and Gigi's honesty with her like guiding lights. She began to understand lessons she had resisted before. That loyalty does not mean sacrificing yourself. That real friends cheer for your happiness even when their own lives are complicated. And that sometimes the most loving act is letting someone go. Travis continued to show her what true support looked like. He didn't just love her when she was strong and shining on stage. He loved her when she was curled up on the couch in tears, doubting herself and mourning a friendship she thought would last forever. His unwavering presence proved to her that the right person doesn't minimize your feelings, but validates them, helps you heal, and becomes your best friend as well as your partner. 6 months later, when Taylor walked down the aisle to marry Travis, she finally understood the depth of what she had gained, even through loss. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds were not there, but Taylor was at peace with their absence. Looking around, she saw faces filled with joy. Gigi Hadid crying happy tears in the front row, Ashley Aignon, who had been steadfast, Brittany Mahomes, who had become a genuine friend, and the entire Kelce family embracing her as their own. These were the people who had earned their place in her life, not through convenience or appearances, but through consistent love and support. As Travis slipped the ring on her finger and promised forever, Taylor realized something profound. Sometimes losing a friend is the beginning of finding yourself. Sometimes the people you thought you needed fall away so that you can make space for those who truly belong. And as painful as it had been, she now knew she deserved friends who protected her peace, celebrated her wins, and loved her without conditions, the same way Travis had shown her love could be. Looking back on that painful and tearful journey, Taylor Swift realized that the end of her friendship with Blake Lively wasn't a scandal or a loud public fight. It was simply the closing of a season in her life, a season where she gave loyalty and love wholeheartedly, but one that had to end so she could grow and find peace. Taylor learned that true friendship never requires you to lose yourself in order to keep it alive. A real friend does not demand that you sacrifice your privacy, happiness, or peace of mind to prove loyalty. True friends are those who show up, who listen, and who share joy and sorrow without conditions. From Travis, Taylor also realized that real love is not just about romance. It is about standing beside someone in their most vulnerable moments. The right partner never dismisses your feelings, but instead helps you see your worth more clearly, even when you doubt yourself. In the end, the loss of an old friendship became an opportunity for Taylor to find new balance and the people who truly deserved to be in her life. She walked into marriage with the conviction that what she lost only cleared the way for what she truly needed. Sometimes letting someone go is not a loss at all. It is the path to finding yourself.